Hello and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the penultimate day of National Careers Week 2021. I hope by this point you've managed to join us already and get involved in some of the sessions this week. My name's Tom and I work as part of the Meet Your Future and Bridge team here at GMCA. So just a little bit about the Meet Your Future campaign. It was launched back in April 2019 to enable young people to have conversations with local employers whilst also experiencing different workplaces. So obviously work here over the past 12 months has looked very different and we've had to do things kind of virtually like the sessions this week. But since then, we've also been speaking with young people like yourselves from all 10 boroughs of Greater Manchester to find out how you've been feeling, how you think you should be supported through the pandemic, about your return to school shortly, and then also about your futures as well. We've learned a lot from having conversations with all of you, and kind of as a result, we've developed a whole suite of information, including resources and services that are here to help you. And you can find those all on GMAX, which is the Greater Manchester Apprenticeship and Career Service, and the link to that is in the chat now. So definitely take a look at that at some point. Over every day this week, you'll be able to join sessions and chat with local employers from Greater Manchester, as well as tuning into these morning sessions where you can hear from notable people about their journey and how they ended up where they are today. But before I introduce our guest today, I just want to point out the Q&A box on the screen. If you've got any questions throughout the session, just pop them in there and we'll do our best to kind of answer those at the back of the end of the session. So joining us this morning is Bex Wilson, a former British Winter Olympian and the current programme manager at the Diane Modahl Sports Foundation. Good morning, Bex.
Good morning, Tom, and good morning everyone that's joined in.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for joining us this morning. I just want to, well, we'll dive straight in really. I guess firstly, can you start off by telling us a little bit about your early life and what you were doing around the age of kind of many of the viewers today, kind of up until your Winter Olympic experience, because it wasn't the traditional careers route with.
No, yeah, that's right. So yeah, as Tom said, everyone, so my name's Bex Wilson. Born and raised in Manchester, so I'm a proud Mancunian, and my journey was very much focused in sport. So as a youngster, I was born with many different barriers. So I was born with my hips out of place, I was born cross-eyed, I was born needing lots of input from hospitals and physio appointments and everything to sort of get me off on the right foot. So from that, I guess I was always challenged. So it was always a bit of a, she'll be fine, but she, you know, she'll go on and she'll live a normal life, but you know, she's not going to be breaking records, so to speak. And that's part of my story that I love. And when I went back at the age of 22, after I'd been to the Olympics, a lot of the consultants and doctors that had supported me as a youngster just couldn't believe that it was the same little girl that had gone on and achieved so well in sport. And that came out of it's a love for being outside, a love for competing, for challenging myself. It started in the playground. I'll race you. I was the first on the line, and I realised that I was fast, and that's where I joined a club. I started competing in athletics, and at 12 years old, I went to the national championships. And I was told, just go, just experience it. It's a big event, it's a big deal. And I ended up leaving that championships with a gold medal and a European record. And you never, as a young person, you don't see outside of yourself. I was just Bex, who loved to run. I went to the national championships and I just couldn't believe that I'd come away with something so massive. But the thing that I remember from it is that my dad bought me my first pair of sprint spikes, and I still have them to this day. And I guess it's kind of, if you put the hard work in, you will get reward. And for me, 12, 13, that was this pair of spikes that was all singing, all dancing. I absolutely loved them. But that really fueled my passion for sport and hard work and challenging myself, saying yes to opportunity. And I went on to represent Great Britain at the World Junior Championships and many different championships for the 100 metres in athletics. And then when I was 17, I got a phone call to invite me down for bobsleigh trials. And again, I said yes. Didn't have a clue what I was going to. Watched a film called Cool Runnings. And this is where, unfortunately, I'm showing that I'm getting a bit older, because many of you have probably not seen that film. So that's one thing I'd want you to go away with, is try and find Cool Runnings. I'm pretty sure it's on Disney Plus, or you'll be able to find it on YouTube or Netflix. I use my speed and my strength of character to put myself forwards, and I ended up being on the Great Britain squad at 17 for bobsleigh, and that took me through 2 Olympic cycles and to the Olympics in 2014. And often I'm asked, how does a girl from Manchester with no snow, who never did any winter sports as a kid, end up as a Winter Olympian? And I'll go on to talk a little bit more about it as we go through this morning, but it's really saying yes to opportunities and not putting yourself in a box. So, be brave to try new things. Some things will work out, some things won't, some things will fail, and don't be afraid to say things like failure or fail or you didn't do too well at it, because there's so many things out there that it teaches us a lot, and it teaches us what path to go down. And don't believe you me, I didn't win every race, and I often felt like, especially in athletics, I'm only 5'2". These girls, I did very well younger. These girls started growing taller, long legs. I was losing races. I wasn't going to make it to the Olympics as a sprinter, and that's all I'd ever wanted. So I was still able to use my training, everything I'd done in the 5-6 years throughout school, and I just went on a slightly different direction, but achieved the amazing achievement of going to an Olympic Games. So very much my journey is sport, self-discovery. I was very focused. Some might say selfish, I say focused. What I wanted to do and achieve. And it took me to the Olympics. And I'll always correct people, once an Olympian, always an Olympian. And I've proudly got the tattoo to show it. So always remember your background and your story and how you got there, and you can draw on that. You can draw on that when things get a bit tough. You can think, well, actually, look what I've already achieved.
Wow, thank you very much. Yes, some amazing experiences there, kind of leading up to that. Just wanted to ask as well, kind of how did it feel, kind of representing your country, and kind of how what were all your, did you have any other kind of experiences while you were at the Olympics, and kind of how did it all feel?
So that's it's a tough one, really. It's probably a strange answer, because a lot of people will think the Olympic Games, you see the Olympic rings, and we think about what we see on TV, which is this huge spectacle. And I know I'm really excited that the Olympics is going to go ahead this year, and it's the one time where everyone really rallies behind everyone, and it's quite a special thing. It's sport at the highest level. For me, the experience was quite different to that, because I was very, very proud that I'd achieved that and that I was there. And I remember the phone call when I got the phone call to say that I had been selected, and the first thing I did was ring my mum. I rang my mum and I just cried down the phone, because it was relief. it was relief of all those injuries, those nights sat up worrying that, was I ever going to amount to anything? And I think as a young person, you don't know what the future holds, and sometimes that's really scary. So yeah, it was an overwhelming emotion, and I think once I got to the Olympics, I was very proud of myself, very proud to be there, but the reality was a little bit different to what you see on TV. It was quite political, and what I mean by that is I was seen as a statistic, as a time, as a piece of data, because a lot of elite level or high level environments tend to look at what the outcome is. So for me being there, it was how fast was I going to run, how well was I going to perform, and was I going to bring a medal or money or exposure to Great Britain. So for me, I was there as that 12, 13-year-old girl who unbelievably had made it from Manchester to a Winter Olympics. And I was proud of that. And I think the challenge for me when I was there was to make sure that I managed best I could with other people's expectations, because everyone will always have different expectations. But to have the self-assurance and the confidence that I'd won. When I got there, I'd won. And it didn't mean that I didn't try, and it didn't mean I didn't want a gold medal. But you have to remember that a lot of people have different purposes, different drives. And I would say my Olympic experience was a little bit clouded by politics and other people's agendas.
So would you say kind of your experiences with sport were quite mixed then? So you had a lot of positives, but also, you know, some quite difficult experiences as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I think probably my biggest challenge was the struggle with my mental health. And it's a big topic at the moment, and we've talked about it a lot, especially this year with change. And I guess that's how it links to now, because being in lockdowns and we've not had control over the COVID pandemic. And when you don't have control, it's a breeding ground for mental health issues. And as a young person growing up, I really struggled with my anxiety. So I've got an anxiety disorder. I really struggle with change. I need to be planned and understand things, because for a lot of the time growing up, everything was I was under pressure, I guess. I put myself under pressure, but the environment that I was in put me under pressure as well. And it's a big thing growing up, of learning how to manage pressure positively, because unfortunately I became very ill with my mental health. I was very low. I suffered bouts of quite severe depression and anxiety, and that's often clouded my journey as an athlete, as a young person, because there's been times of real pain and doubt and hardship, and I'm always quite happy to talk about it, actually, because the one line that I always say, and I always say this to young people, I work for a foundation where I work and coach with young people in schools, and I say it will pass, and it will pass. The bad times will pass, and it's how you get through them, and the good times will pass, so it's how you make the most of them. And that's, I think, looking back at me as a young person, it would be really trying to maximize being in the moment, and taking the pressure off your shoulders a little bit, because it can get hard sometimes.
Okay, thank you. And I guess bringing it through to kind of present and where you're at now. So given those kind of mixed experiences, what then steered you in kind of a different direction, drew you towards kind of what you're doing now at the Sports Foundation, and kind of what do you do there?
Yeah, so I'd reached my goal at 22, so I was very fortunate that at 22 I was an Olympian, and you know, that's relatively young, and I could have, a lot of people would question, oh, why didn't you go on? You could have gone to 3-4 more Olympics. But that was a turning point for me, because I decided that actually who I was as a person and my health and my well-being was the most important. And so I retired from bobsleigh, and it probably sounds funny saying retired at 22, but I came out of the sport, and that's where I, well, as my dad would put it, my dad said it's time to get a real job. But I'd always just focused on sport. So that was another chapter, and I came across the Diane Modahl Sports Foundation, and initially I was an ambassador for them, and I started talking in schools about my journey, about some of the struggles, some of the highs, some of the lows, and at that point an opportunity then came up for a part-time job as a coach. So I said yes. Always say yes to an opportunity. So I said yes. I'd never coached before. I used some of my experience. I learned from others. And that role has developed to, I started coordinating the programs. I then became a project manager. I then got a full-time role. And I have grown with the foundation as it's grown. And I think the biggest thing probably to take from it was I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'm quite confident now that I'm good at my job. I love my job. I love young people. I love being in schools. And what I have understood from that transition and that journey is that one of the most important things you could do now is try and ask the question, who are you? What do you stand for? Because even you might be very clear on the direction you want to go in, or you might not be. But even no matter where you are on that spectrum of knowing what you want to do or don't want to do, it's going to be you as a person that will need to get you there. So this is where often you talk about those transferable skills, and your teachers and parents and the people around you will constantly talk about being committed to something, being focused, being resilient. And really what that means is, who are you, and what character are you, and what are you prepared to put in to life in general? Because if you can work on yourself, opportunities will come, doors will open, and no matter what walk of life you go into, if you can work hard, you can be focused, you can bring joy to people, be kind, be focused on something, all of these things will provide you a brilliant future. Absolutely. So for anyone listening now, wherever you are on knowing what your journey is, what you can do right now is just think about who you are, your character, because that is what's going to make you successful.
I totally agree. So just a quick one from me, and then we'll go to some questions from the Q&A. So now that you're supporting young people kind of with the work you do at the Diane Modahl Sports Foundation, I'm sure you've learned a lot about the mentality of young people of today, and obviously as well as your own. What advice would you give to 17 or 18-year-old Bex in the bobsleigh team, or to any young person that might be kind of struggling with any overwhelming pressures in their life? What would be kind of like your top tip or any advice?
Yeah, okay, so I've got 3 top tips then for you to take away. Number 1, think about your email address. It might be you won't think about it when you're younger. I didn't. And I'm stuck with an email address now that I've tried to cover up with work email addresses and stuff like that. But when you start applying to colleges or university or jobs or anything like that, you don't want to be big hot pink panda at hotmail.com or, you know, any of these little silly things. So
Incredibly important point there, I think.
Important point. Think about your email address. Your name is a good one. You know, I've written out, and I've got a huge long one, and it's so frustrating when you're logging into things. So yeah, number 1, think about your email address. Number 2 would be control the controllables. So whatever age you are listening to this now, there's always going to be things out of our control, whether that's our family life, our parents, our school, teachers, jobs. There's always going to be things that we have no say on, no control on. That's not going to go away. However, you can control a lot of how you feel and what your life looks like. So this is where it links in with who are you as a person. So I would say what you can control is, are you kind? Are you hardworking? Are you focused on something? Do something every day that makes you smile or laugh or feel good, because that will go a long way into just helping you get through the tough days and enjoying life. So yeah, definitely control what you can control. There's enough out there that you can't control. So think about what you can control. And the last one would be say yes. Say yes to opportunities. Be curious of the world around you. We often, as human beings, put ourselves in boxes, and we think, and I did it as an athlete. My Twitter account was Bex Bobsleigh, and I was Bex GB, and I was Bex the runner. And when that was taken away from me when I retired, I struggled, because suddenly I wasn't Bex Bobsleigh, and it's because I'd attributed who I was to things outside of me. So opportunities will come, and be brave to say yes. And it might fail, it might fall flat. You might think, what on earth am I doing here? This is not for me. But that knowledge is power. And you will have opportunities that come along, and you'll think, whoa, I never thought I'd be able to do this, or I never thought I was good at this. And it'll take you on a journey, potentially a job, a passion, a life choice. So yeah, be brave and say yes.
Brilliant. So I'll quickly jump to the Q&A now. It looks like we've had a couple of questions come in, but I think you've answered quite a few of them with kind of what you've been talking about. So there's someone asking about, did you find the pressure hard, and what was it like at the Olympics? But there's one here, I guess, which, if we could kind of touch on it really quickly, because we've run out of time a little bit here, but kind of, would you do anything differently if you did it again?
I would, yes. That's a tough question, because I achieved a lot and I got to the Olympics, so I obviously did something right. But the one thing that I would do is have fun, have more fun, smile, because I took life very seriously. And it's only now, it's my birthday in 2 weeks, and it's my 30th. And I love life. I love laughing. I love being with friends. And I think, looking at my younger self, I needed more of that. You know, play, be with your friends, have time for you, and the things that you love and you're passionate about, make sure you take time to do them. Even if you've got exams or stuff going on in your life, you need to laugh, you need to find what makes you feel good. And that's something that if I could talk to my younger self now, I'd really, really push that, because I think my struggle with mental health came because I didn't allow myself to be young, to be happy, to be free.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant, thank you very much. I hope that answered your question, whoever asked that in. So yeah, thank you very much, Bex. That's all we've got time for today. Any questions that have not been answered and you'd still like to ask them, if you can email us at bridge@greatermanchester-ca.gov.uk. So yeah, a big thanks to Bex for sharing her story and being open about how she felt through her experiences. I think it's something that every single one of us should definitely practice and encourage others to do so, as the benefits can be massive. So we've also put a link in the chat now to the Staying Well section of GMAX, which has lots of information on what to do if you're struggling with your mental health, or if you know anyone else who is. I would definitely take a look at all the information on there at some point, because it's all very helpful. So that is www.gmax.co.uk/staywell. So before we go, I just want to show you quickly the rest of the programme for what's happening for the rest of today. So we've got personal wellbeing in the workplace with stateside food, using maths with Auto Trader, and then NG careers as well. So yeah, thanks again to Bex, and thanks for all you guys for watching. I hope Bex story has given you some kind of inspiration for this week. So yeah, have a lovely day everyone, and hopefully see you all soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone.
Cheers.
Bye bye.